Joining me now on set is Hassan Barari, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University. Hassan, it's good to see you. Both parties here have declared themselves winners of this 14-month conflict. But to me, it's not very clear what either side has achieved. You have Hezbollah, who entered this war because they wanted Israel to stop its bombardment of Gaza. That hasn't stopped. Then you had Israel, who said they wanted to bring their people back home to the north. That also, it's not clear if that objective has been achieved. So who are the winners and losers here?
Oh, thank you, Marian. I think this is a very good question to start with. There's no clear winner. Hezbollah and Israel, both of them declare victory, but on the ground, there's no clear winner. But I think Israel has achieved more in the 14 months. The first thing that Hezbollah's objectives of linking the war with the Gaza front has come to an end simply because they signed the deal and the war in Gaza continues. So this has not been achieved. But at the same time, Israel has failed actually to lead Hezbollah or to force Hezbollah to succumb. Hezbollah kept fighting to the last second. And we know that the toll was unprecedented, with 4,000 militants of Hezbollah were killed, with all these destructions. When you look at the Israeli size, maybe 60 soldiers were killed since the ground operation. So there's no actually, I would say, comparison between the losses of both sides. I think, militarily speaking, I would say that Israel had the upper hand in this conflict. There's no question about that. But these conflicts should end in political settlement. Israel has not achieved its declared objective.
So why now? Why would they come to the ceasefire now?
Well, there are a number of reasons for this. So the first one is the American pressure. I mean, we know that the Israeli Air Force has been through some difficulties in terms of ammunition and supplies. And Biden has actually suspended some of these shipments. So one thing is the American pressure on Lebanon. And there is also a realization on the American administration side that Lebanon is different from Gaza. Israel has no territorial claim, as the case in Gaza. So a deal with Lebanon would not lead to the collapse of the Netanyahu's government as much as a deal with Gaza, which definitely would probably bring an end to the government. So for Netanyahu, the political cost is minimal internally, and that's why he went on with this, because even Trump, he is trying to find a kind of close cooperation, told him that you have to stop this.
He's also made clear, hasn't he, that if there are any violations to the ceasefire, the Israeli army can come back in. So what do you think will happen now? We have this 60-day period. Do you think the ceasefire will hold? Will it go on beyond that? And who is key to making sure that it is implemented and it is maintained long term?
Well, first of all, it all depends on what's going to happen in Gaza. So if the war in Gaza comes to an end, I think this is going to hold. There's no question about that. But it seems to me that Netanyahu is not even into the idea of getting the war in Gaza to an end for various reasons. Majority of them are domestic ones. But in the Lebanese front, I mean, I think what would determine the ceasefires, whether it's going to hold or not, is the implementation of the clauses. There are 13 clauses in the deal. Some of them talk about the Lebanese sovereignty, meaning that the army would be deployed. So will the army be able to do that? Will the army manage to force Hezbollah to really go north of Litani? And what about the fighters? Maybe some of them are actually dwellers of the south. So they can sneak back again in their civilian uniform. And we know that the arms may be underground, so they can rearm easily.
This is a critical point, isn't it? Because Hezbollah is not just some armed group on the side of... It is intrinsically part of the society of Lebanon and the political system. So they may have downed arms for now, but we don't know what the future holds. What do you think? How does Hezbollah come out of this war?
Malin, we've seen this in 2006 when Hezbollah had to withdraw south of Litani, only to be redeployed in the south of Litani. So Hezbollah has been battered. There's no question about this. And also the division in Lebanon is unprecedented. And many Lebanese, they don't say this in the media, but we've seen statements from even normal people saying that Hezbollah is the one to be held accountable because it brought havoc on the Lebanese infrastructures. So unlike Gaza, when you can spot that there's a kind of unity, in Lebanon. It's a divided country, it's factional country, it's sectarian, and the government is dysfunctional, and there is no president in the country. So many, I would say the majority of Lebanese are against Hezbollah getting into the war. So how Hezbollah is going to face this internally, I think it remains to be seen, but definitely Hezbollah is not as strong as it used to be before the war.
And briefly, we touched on Gaza. How optimistic are you? It sounds like you're not, that this impetus here will lead to some sort of ceasefire in Gaza.
Well, it might actually trigger a different momentum, but the Israelis' conditions and the definition of victory is really difficult to meet. They want a total victory in Gaza. They want Hamas to succumb. And this remains to be seen whether Hamas is going to do this or not. But now Hamas is left behind, is left alone, fighting. Over the last 2 months, Hamas was maybe happy that Israelis were involved in Lebanon, but now they have all the energy to focus on Gaza. When Hamas is leaderless in Gaza, we know that after the killing of Sinwar, it is really difficult to whom to talk to. This is one thing. Secondly, there's no real American pressure on Israel when it comes to Gaza. And also, the Israeli government itself is the sticking point here. The right-wing component that is very vital for Netanyahu's survival, actually talking about even establishing new settlements in Gaza. So the idea of annexing swaths of Gaza is theirs in the agenda. So for Netanyahu to go on down the road of signing a deal with Hamas would definitely be the final nail in his political coffin.
And they're, of course, banking on Trump as well, aren't they, to continue that agenda when he comes.
He said that Israel is too small, it should expand. So all of these messages, I think, would only give ammunition to the right-wing component of the government, that they're driving the government in a messianic scheme, mainly a divine settlement of the land. And this is really, would make it really difficult for Netanyahu even to fathom about ceasefire in Gaza.
Okay, thank you for that. Hassan Barari, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.